So now we already know that glycolysis yield a total of 8 ATPs from the calculation I gave. The two NADH we each go into the electron transport chain to yield 6 molecules of ATPs. Are you getting it? And we already have two ATPs already, so altogether we have a total of 8 ATPs in glycolysis. So now, then the final product of glycolysis is pyruvate. Are you getting it? The pyruvate. Now, this pyruvate, what happens to it? What is the fate of pyruvate? Now, when there is oxygen, what happens is that it enters the TCA cycle, that's the tricarboxylic acid cycle or the Krebs cycle. So, sorry, it undergoes decarboxylation to form acetic CoA. Are you getting it? So, pyruvate cannot enter the Krebs cycle. Are you getting it? It's only acetic CoA that is able to enter the Krebs cycle. So, as a result of that, pyruvate will break down by the carboxylation. So don't forget that pyruvate is a three carbon compound. So it will lose one carbon compound, it will lose carbon dioxide. So to yield a two carbon compound called acetyl CoA. So that's what happens. Now this acetyl CoA we are talking about will undergo the Krebs cycle. So it will yield NADH, it will yield ATP by direct phosphorylation, and it will also yield FADH also. Are you getting it? Now this NADH, FADH, so they will each go to the electron transport chain to also produce their own ATP. So now, in what I want you to notice that more ATPs are produced during Krebs cycle than in glycolysis. Are you getting it? More ATPs are produced. For example, in Krebs cycle now we have a total of 30 ATPs. Are you getting it? 30 ATPs. Unlike the glycolysis where we have only a total of 8 ATPs. So you can see altogether we have more ATPs in Krebs cycle than in glycolysis. Now, if we now add all the ATPs gotten together, so for example, now we have 8 ATPs in the glycolysis during glycolysis from glycolysis. So to the 30, we have a total of 38 ATPs. So the metabolism of one molecule of glucose yield a total of 38 ATPs. So please take note of that. It's very important. Now, before I wrap up this video, I want to quickly define some terms. Yes, define some terms. And one is I want us to define glycolysis, glycogenolysis, and gluconeogenesis. Are you getting it? Sorry. Then I mean glycogenesis, glyconeogenesis, and glycogenolysis. So those are the three. Now let's start with glycogenesis. Let's start with glycogenesis. Now glycogenesis is simply the conversion of glucose to glycogen. Are you getting it? Conversion of glucose to glycogen. So now you can see from the word glycogenesis. So the genesis, when you generate something, are you getting it? So glycogenesis. So from that is formation of glycogen. So formation. So that's that. Now it takes place in the liver and muscle. So let me quickly tell you that it takes place in the liver or muscle. That's glycogenesis. So that's that. So now let's quickly talk about gluconeogenesis also. Gluconeogenesis. Now, gluconeogenesis is the formation of glucose from non-carbohydrate substances. So, example of such non-carbohydrate substances could be it could be amino acid. It's not a carbohydrate substance, so amino acid. So, when you are forming glucose from it, then that's what we call gluconeogenesis. For example, now let's say the formation of glucose from glycerol. Are you getting it? So that's gluconeogenesis. Now, gluconeogenesis, it takes place in the liver and kidney. Gluconeogenesis takes place in the liver and kidney. Now, this is what happened. Now, the main site of gluconeogenesis is the liver. Are you getting? Is the liver. So, but when there is starvation, that is when we don't have, maybe when we are very hungry. Are you getting it? So during starvation, when we are not well fed, so during those processes, that's when the kidney takes over. Are you getting it? Takes over the gluconeogenesis process. Are you getting it? So that's that. So gluconeogenesis, neo there means new. Are you getting it? That's generation of glucose from new substances. So that's that. So now let's talk about the glycogenolysis. Glycogenolysis. Are you getting it? Glycogenolysis. Now, glycogenolysis is the conversion of glycogen back to glucose. Are you getting it? When we have excess of um, glucose in the body, glycogen is from there's glycogenesis. Are you getting it? So I forgot to mention the other time that glycogenesis occur as a result of excess glucose in the body. Are you getting? So the liver will process it and make sure the excess glucoses are converted into the glycogen. So now, when we now have less glucose in the body, so what happens then is that the glycogen that has been formed will be breaking down gradually. I get it. It will break it down gradually to form glucose back. So that's it. So when it happens that way, that glucose is being formed gradually. So it happens in the liver and muscle. Are you getting this? So glycogenolysis happens in the liver and muscle. So one there's something more I would like you to know about it. Okay, yes, that during the what am I trying to say? I'm trying to remember this. Okay, yes. When glucose 6 phosphate is present, yes, when glucose 6 phosphate is present, so it takes place in the glycogenolysis takes place in the liver. Are you getting it? So, but when it is absent, it takes place in the muscle. So that's that. So now let's talk about the disorders of carbohydrate metabolism. So when carbohydrate is not well metabolized in the body, I get it. That is when it's not well broken down or formed in the body. It can lead to some disorders. So one of such disorders is the diabetes mellitus. So that's one of such disorders. So another one is galactosemia. Another one is lactose intolerance. Are you getting it? Lactose intolerance. So diabetes mellitus is when you have when you have a lot of glucose in the body, so which can lead to passing out excess urine. Are you getting it? So and the diabetes mellitus is a very dangerous, is a very deadly disorder in the body. Are you getting it? It can lead to the gangrene of the limbs. Again, when a place in which the limbs begin to decay, like the legs, the hands, are you getting it? They begin to decay. So that's the effect of the diabetes mellitus. So now also another thing is galactosemia. Are you getting it? So a person with the that cannot metabolize carbohydrates properly. So what happens is that for example, the galactosemia, is just a description that when there is galactose in the blood. Are you getting it? So you understand that something that should be metabolized is now in the blood. So do you know what happens? It will accumulate in the blood, and there will not be normal flow of blood. It is very dangerous to the body. There's something that should have been broken now. So when it's clogged up, it causes problem in the body. So another one is lactose intolerance. The patient will not be able to digest lactose. I get it. So all things like that. So those are the disorders of the carbohydrate metabolism. So in the subsequent videos, I will describe in details the process of glycolysis, yes, and the Krebs cycle. I will describe in detail the several intermediates for the formation of that leads to the formation of pyruvate and acetyl CoA. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share with others. I am Dr. K. So see you in the next video. Bye.